Tommy's gonna taste the gin so that you don't have to. Let you save your money, yeah, that's what Tommy wants. Minimal dilution, cause we wanna taste the gins. But if the gins are bad, then we will throw them in the bin. Now let's hand it over to Tommy, who is gonna taste. He's gonna get all rowdy and shout up the place.
Hello and welcome back to Tommy Taste, the channel where I taste the gin so that you don't have to. This week we are continuing our journey into the Locksley Distilling Company of Sheffield and trying the VSOT, short for Very Special Old Tom Gin. Old Tom Gin is something that we haven't previously discussed on this channel, and it's very different to, well, I say very different, slightly different to London Dry Gin. Effectively, the missing link between London Dry Gin and Geneva, which comes from the Netherlands and what gin was modelled on. This is a slightly sweetened incarnation of London Dry Gin. How did Old Tom get its name? It is dubious to say the least. During the time of the gin craze in the 18th century, there were these kind of black cat placards stationed above doors when gin was somewhat outlawed. But if you were to slide a couple of coins through a slot, then some gin would be poured to you through a funnel and you could go about your day hammered. Old Tom comes from the tomcat that was on the signs at these times. Other people say it was the name of a distiller. Other people say that a cat jumped into a barrel of gin, drowned in it, died, and it was the best-selling barrel of gin they'd ever had. Those tasty dead cat flavours. Hopefully will not be experienced in this gin.
Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me.
What makes this a very special Old Tom Gin is something even more special, as the name suggests. This is possibly the world's only Navy strength Old Tom Gin, clocking in at a whopping 57.5%. So how do you follow up a classic akin to the Sir Robin of Locksley gin that we tried in last week's episode? That's right, you take two underappreciated forms of gin, that being Old Tom Gin and Navy Strength Gin, a gin that's only really palatable for most people in cocktails, and make this the follow-up, the VSOT. I f***ing love Navy Strength Gin. I love overproof spirits. More alcohol, the better. Not always, but in most cases. Old Tom, I have a slightly stranger relationship with. I've never found one that really speaks to me. Because of the greater perceived sweetness, it's one of those things where they all kind of taste a bit similar to me. They all have a slightly licoricey flavour, slightly citrusy flavour, and taste just kind of generally sweet. The special kind of woody, piney juniper notes and a lot of the florality and the delicate balances of gin are somewhat lost on me when it comes to Old Tom. The one that I always tend to go to when people ask me for recommendations of Old Tom Gin is the Hayman's Old Tom Gin. That's because this clocks in at around £25 a bottle, which is cheap for Old Tom Gin, and Hayman's of London are a cracking gin distillery, so you just can't go wrong. Also, the bottle looks phenomenal, so just go for that. However, could this be the Old Tom Gin that I've been looking for on account of that massive overproof alcohol? I think it's time we whack this in a glass and taste!
What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa!
So, here I have my VSOT Gin, courtesy of Locksley Distilling. Let's have a whiff. From the nose alone, it's not immediately clear to know that this is a Old Tom Gin. It definitely has some sweeter notes to it. citrus, licorice, like I kind of alluded to in the preamble. But then there is some like nice kind of dried warming spices in there, like cinnamon, white pepper in particular. Annoyingly, Locksley, like with all of their spirits, keep their cards very close to their chest when it comes to actually telling you what botanicals go into this gin. All I can assume is that they have a similar kind of makeup to what goes into the Sir Robin of Locksley. So again, that elderflower, grapefruit peel, what else? Cinnamon and dandelion that went into this. The problem is I just can't really get any of those notes in here per se. It is very alcoholic, but it doesn't feel unbalanced at any point in time. Time to taste.
Says it's cool for cats, it's cool for cats.
This is intense. There is so much alcohol and you feel it. It is weighty. You definitely feel the sweetness on the palate. It definitely feels not cloying, but you can feel that it's coating your mouth much more than, say, your average London dry gin would. And given that alcohol has like a glycerol weight to it, which coats your mouth, when you add sugar into it, it does feel big, full-bodied. In terms of the notes, there's nothing different to what I was actually getting on the nose. Citrus, licorice. I can't really notice the juniper quite so much. It's good, but I am lumping it into the category of most Old Toms I've tried, but with an extra punch of alcohol and body, which I guess is what you would expect from a Navy strength. Complexity is maybe not this gin's strong point at this point in time, but I am hoping that as we dilute this gin, then more will come out and make itself apparent. After all, Navy strength is often best used in cocktails. So, here we go. Cheers. So the gin is definitely better on ice with a little bit of minor dilution there as well. You do not feel quite the weight and the power of the alcohol. It does still feel annoyingly sweet though. That's not the fault of Locksley Distilling, that's just the nature of Old Tom gin, and I can't pretend that I'm a massive fan of it. If you do like a sweeter flavour, then you might really, really like this gin. Okay, tonic in there. The sweetness of the tonic is probably going to make this just all round a little too sweet for my taste, but hopefully I'm surprised.
She'll just tell you that she came in the year of the cat.
So the alcohol of the Old Tom gives it enough to cut through the tonic, and it definitely does feel like a gin and tonic. You do get a little more kind of juniper in there, and the sweetness doesn't feel quite so prominent once you start putting the tonic in though. But I don't like this gin. If you're a fan of Old Tom gins, then this is probably going to be like Mecca for you. This is a really interesting and really different take on what a distillery can do, and I admire them for giving it a go. But it's kind of vindicated myself on what I thought about Old Tom, was that it's just the sweetness distracts from the botanical complexity. It's not delicate enough. It's not what I would say is a top-end spirit. This comes in at around 50 to 60 pounds for a 70cl bottle, which is pricey, and it's what you would expect given the fact that it is two mad styles of gin combined. This is not like What's the Story Morning Glory was to Definitely Maybe, or what Wish You Were Here was to Dark Side of the Moon. It's more just not on form. It is well worth a try, and if you like Old Tom, I think this is totally something for you. But it's not complex enough, and it falls into the same trap that all Old Toms do. In summary, I'm sorry Locksley Distilling, but it's a big thumbs down from me.
Yeah, like and subscribe, girl. Like and subscribe. What? Like and subscribe. Work it out.